You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Let's go back to the very beginning, Skulls, back to where it all started, growing up in Alice Springs. What were your memories growing up in Alice Springs and playing cricket?
Yeah, well, so you're 100% right. I was born in Alice, but when I was 4 years old, I moved to Canberra. And one of my first memories is being at our house in Canberra and getting a cricket set for Christmas, one of those old sets that has the stumps, the ball, and the bat in it. And I remember I think I got the ball. I've got a twin brother, he got the bat. And my first ball, I bowled him. And that was a real buzz and that was a real good feeling. And then that was probably when I was 7 or 8. My brother and I started playing soccer when we were 6. That was our first sport. We played a bit of tennis as well. And I think the cricket set must have come at 7 or 8. And then my first competitive, when I first started playing cricket properly was in Canberra when I was 10, just before we moved back to Alice. And my best friend at the time from primary school, he was playing cricket. And I used to stay at his house on a Friday night, bring my white clothes and I'd sort of pack them in the bag and I subbed fielded for them a few times. And then after a few weeks, my parents sort of caught on to what was happening and they said, "Do you want to play cricket?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to play. I'm enjoying it." And then I played the second half of the season and a fond memory I've got is I hit my first ever ball for 4. I think I got a juicy full toss and I smoked it over mid wicket. And I think I was addicted ever since then. And then, yeah, after that season ended, I think I won the batting average for the club, even though I only played half the season. Moved back to Alice, joined a club, and yeah, cricket's been my life pretty much ever since.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think that's how we all started in the game. That's how I started in the backyard. I played it in school, and I've been hooked ever since. So you get that real buzz from it, and it's just infectious, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's something so unique about it where it's a team game and you spend so much time with your teammates, but it's also an individual contest. And so like you get to stand out at times when you're going well and when you've got the ball, when you're batting, it's all on you. So it's really individual, but then you've got that camaraderie of your team. So I think it's a beautiful sport.
Absolutely. It's the greatest game on earth. Now, Skulls, when you made the decision to leave Alice to go to Perth, you just finished school, you said goodbye to the family, you went over to Perth to pursue your dream in becoming a professional cricketer. You got into university, but you gave that degree up, you deferred it. And you played in Perth and Darwin for around about 9 years, if I'm right, on and off?
Yep. So you're very correct that I played all year round for 9 years, but the first 2 years out of school, I went Perth, Darwin, because the seasons are sort of opposite. And then the third year I started going to England and I had 6 years in England. Yeah. So all year round for, about 9 years. And it was Perth, Darwin, Perth, England. I was just, couldn't get enough of it.
What was that experience like doing that, playing in Perth, Darwin and doing that?
Oh, it was awesome. I had sort of not a care in the world except for trying to get better and score as many runs as I could and just having fun as well. There was far less responsibility than there are these days, being sort of a bit older and having a family and having a business and those sort of things. So it was a fantastic time in life where I just was training hard, I was playing hard, I was enjoying myself and probably enjoying myself too much off the field at times, being a young guy. But yeah, I got to sort of make friends all over the country and then all over the world, and just to be doing something I loved. And I'm so lucky looking back that my parents were incredibly supportive. They could have really pushed me into university and told me to be more sensible, but they realized I was quite good, but most importantly, I enjoyed it. And I was really passionate about cricket and sort of pursuing it. And so it was awesome, mate. And I look back on that time in my life and it feels like a long time ago, especially playing up in Darwin. I haven't been back there very much since my last time in 2007. But yeah, it was such a good time. I got some very fond memories of all of it.
Absolutely. You talked about going to England and you went to play in the leagues there for a bit. So after playing in Perth, Darwin on and off for around about 9 years or so, you decided to head over to England to further your opportunities, learn and develop life skills. What was that experience like playing in the leagues in England? And how does league cricket in England compare to Premier grade cricket here in Australia?
Oh, it was such a good learning for me, both as a person and as a cricketer. The biggest, there's so many differences on the cricket field. The conditions in terms of the weather, the wickets are really, really different. The balls are really, really different. How the balls behave are very different. And then the format of the game, there was what's called a winning and a losing draw in league cricket over there. And I couldn't get my head around that you'd play for a winning draw rather than to try and actually win the game. So, so many differences. And going to England as a 20-year-old really helped develop my skill set, but also my understanding of the game and my mindset. And they're the three sort of main characteristics of being successful, I think, is those three things combined. And playing in England was such a learning curve. And then off the field, I had to deal with being the overseas player and the player that was getting sort of, that was brought over by the club to be the one that the best player, let's say. And there was a lot of pressure that came with that for a young guy. So that was a really good learning experience. I had to, even though I'd been living out of home for a couple of years, as the rain comes down, hopefully it's not too loud behind me, but I had to, it's quite fitting. We're talking about England, it starts raining. I had to.
The weather in England shocking.
Exactly. You have to get used to the rain and when you're playing cricket in England. But just so many positives. Learning to adjust to the pace of the wickets and the little slow bowlers who are so skillful in those conditions. And it really did expand my game. It challenged me. And it challenged my resilience. I think to be a successful cricketer over a long period of time, you have to become incredibly resilient. You have to learn to bounce back from setbacks and not sort of be too down on yourself, because it's hard to get out of it when you're too down on yourself. So, some absolutely fantastic cricket lessons, but probably more importantly, I think it really helped me develop as a person, helped me grow up and mature and see some of the world as well, helped me live. Like I was talking to a parent of a really good young cricketer today who's just turned 16, and we were saying how quick time goes. And it's like, those experiences are some of the best experiences of my life. And I'm turning 34 in a couple of months. So I'm not old, but I'm not young anymore. And you sort of only get one life, and having the opportunity through cricket to spend so much time in the UK, in London, in one of the biggest, best cities in the world, was just something I'm so grateful for and so pleased and proud to have done.
Absolutely. So then you found yourself playing for Middlesex. So after playing some league cricket, learning and developing your skills on and off the field, you played for Middlesex. Tell us, how did you come across playing for Middlesex?
Yeah, well, it was quite interesting. So my father was born in England, and he left the UK when he was quite young, but he's eligible for a British passport. And because of his heritage being English, I was eligible for a British passport. And a friend of mine, when I was 19, said, and I think I was heading back to Darwin, or I just got back from Darwin for the second year, said, mate, Scholes, you got to go to England, mate. And then I said, yeah, my dad's born there. And then it turned out I didn't have a British passport. My dad didn't have a British passport at the time, but we both got one. And my dad got his, then I got mine. And it meant that I was eligible to play cricket professionally as a local. I'm a British citizen. So when I went over there, my goal and dreams were always to play for Australia, and to get there, I wanted to play for Western Australia. However, things weren't happening for me in Perth. I wasn't scoring the runs I needed to get noticed and get selected and break into the squad. And so England became another option. And in the first couple of years of league cricket, 2008, 2009, I did quite well. I did quite well in Premier League cricket in the Middlesex League. And I had a teammate who was part of the Middlesex coaching staff, and he said, I'll get you a trial with Middlesex. And it took some time. I sort of was hoping to have got, at the time I was a bit frustrated that I didn't get a trial sooner, but everything happens for a reason, I believe. And I got a trial at the very end of the season. First game I played Middlesex second 11 against Gloucestershire, and I opened the batting and I hit 66 off 33 balls. And all of a sudden Middlesex were really interested, and they invited me to come back for 2010 pre-season. I came back to England a month earlier than I would normally, just to play league cricket. I started the county season playing second 11 as an uncontracted player. I think I was the only uncontracted player. I was batting in the top order. They were giving me a really good opportunity in the second team, and I did quite well. And then come July, on the back of my performances in second 11. And I actually said to them that another county was interested in me trialing. And then they offered me a sort of a 2.5 year contract for the remainder of that season, plus two more seasons. So it was a bit of a slog to get there. In the meantime, I was going back to Perth and trying to do well in grade cricket, but it just wasn't happening for me. So I was 22 when I got offered my contract, and had 2.5 amazing seasons. Unfortunately, I didn't score the runs to keep sort of my contract and to keep me in the squad. And so at the end of my first contract, that 3 years, I got released. But it was a really amazing time, and to say and to have those experiences, to have played at Lords, to have called Lords my home ground for a while, and to have played with against some of the world's best players is just, something I'm really proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about playing at Lords. You made your debut there. What was that like? You've written about your debut in detail, how you were feeling and that. But what are your memories from that day?
Oh, look, it was a very, very special day. Something I remember vividly is the lead up to that moment, because that was when I got my contract. It was an incredible sort of 4 or 5 days. I was trying to replay the dates in my head recently, when it was 11 years since I made my debut. And I did a post about that back in early July, a couple of months ago. And I think I said to Middlesex, I'm going to go and trial at Hampshire. And they said, oh, look, we want the coach at the time, second team coach, Richard Johnson, said, look, I want to try and sign you. Just play one more game for us. I'm going to try and sign you. In that game, I got 180 against Gloucestershire. And then at the end of that day's play, which I think was a Wednesday, I got offered my contract. And Angus Fraser, who was the director of cricket and still has been at Middlesex up until recently, said, congratulations, Tom, here's your contract, and you're in the squad to play against Bangladesh at Lords on Sunday. And that was Wednesday night. And then, a couple of days passed. I sort of celebrated with my mates on the Thursday and some of my teammates. And then I played club cricket on the Saturday. And then the Sunday was the debut at Lords. And as I've written about, which you mentioned, I couldn't sleep the night before. My mind was so active. I couldn't switch off. I didn't know how to calm myself down and trust myself. And I've got very little sleep. But just rocking up the next day, training, warming up on Lords on the outfield. Bangladesh, the international team, are there. Playing against them, I know that they batted first. They batted really well. They've got some fantastic players. And then I batted number 5. As I was waiting to bat, we lost 2 early wickets. Then there was a bit of a partnership between David Milan and Owe Shah. Obviously, Milan's in the England Test team at the moment. Owe Shah played a lot for England, and I was sort of sitting on the balcony, like trying not to fall asleep because I was so tired and so exhausted. And then the wicket fell. I was absolutely fine. I got my adrenaline going. Walking through the long room was an amazing feeling. Getting my first run, a little tuck to square leg. I think it was off Shakib Al Hassan. And then I didn't last very long. I only got 3 and got out slog sweeping the spinner. But it was an incredible day. I remember being absolutely exhausted at the end of it. Like emotionally, I was just wrecked. Such a big thing where my adrenaline was going all day. And then I obviously hadn't had much sleep. But it was a really, really special sort of 4 or 5 days there.
Absolutely. You talk about Angus Fraser, former England fast bowler, and he was very good. He told you the news that your services are not going to be required at Middlesex. You said, I was able to accept that news and be okay with it. Did you ever have the idea of trying to get into another county team, or was it trying to go back to Perth to get into the WA side?
No, great question, mate. I love how prepared you are. No, it was also basically the timings of it was in between my second and third year of my contract with Middlesex. So at the end of the 2011 season, so I got my contract middle of 2010, finished that season with Middlesex. I came back, played a little bit in Perth in between the season, went back to England 2011, didn't score many runs there, had a tough year, came back to Perth. And in that Perth grade season, I scored the most runs in the WACA competition. I got 819 runs at 81. And I played a second 11 game for WA at the end of that season. Then I went back to Middlesex for my final year of my contract. And then at the end of that season, Angus delivered the news that I wasn't required. So my now wife was my girlfriend at the time. We were living in London together. She had a job in London, and we sort of decided, and I sort of, having lived in London and loved the London lifestyle and also loved Perth, I didn't really want to try and go and play or live in a smaller county, Leicestershire or Derbyshire or somewhere like that. But I also had this opportunity to come back to Perth and play for Western Australia, which was my dream and my goal all along. And because I'd played a second 11 game at the end of the season, I was the best batter in the comp that previous season. I was really confident that I could come back to Perth, and if I scored enough runs, I'd get an opportunity here. And so, to be honest, I've written about it and said that I was okay with when Angus delivered that news. And if I didn't have Western Australia as the backup plan, I think I would have been much more difficult to take that information and being told I'm no longer required. And I might have looked at another county and sort of tried to battle away in county cricket for longer. But I really backed myself here to come back to WA and forge a career here. And unfortunately, I just didn't score enough runs. And as any batter knows, runs is our currency. And so, yeah, and that's how it panned out. I continued to chase my dreams here in Perth. I did go back to England, had one more season. I played in the Surrey Premier League for a season, but then that was my time in England done for a while, and my wife moved over here, and I chased my cricket in Perth for another few years before I started to move into cricket mentoring.
Yeah, so you returned to Perth, as you said, after losing the contract. Didn't happen, unfortunately. When you reflect on your professional career, I should say, despite it being short, what are you most proud of, and do you have any regrets?
Oh, mate, great questions again. I think regrets, I don't have any regrets because I was only trying my best at the time. I always tried my best and I could only do what I knew. Like if I knew then what I know now, I think my career could have been very different. And that's why I'm very passionate about what I do is cricket mentoring. I'm trying to be the mentor I wish I had. But at the time, I didn't know any different. So I was just giving it my best. What I would do differently is I would really try and understand myself better. I would focus on the mental skills needed for performance. And yeah, not just hit balls and train hard, be as fit as I can, but try and look after my mind a bit better because that's what let me down ultimately. That's what I wasn't able to manage and then wasn't able to perform at my best. So that's something I would do differently, but it's not a regret because it's just the way it was. And I think I'm just proud of my journey, just growing up in Alice Springs in a small town I don't know that many people, I don't think many people who have been born and raised in Alice have gone on to play professional cricket. There's a few that have lived in Alice who have done things, a few footy players, but to come from a small town at Alice, move to Western Australia, move to London, continue to chase my dreams and my passion. I'm just proud of the fact that I actually did it. And I think, to be honest, a part of me relaxed once I got my contract and became a professional cricketer. I sort of was really proud of that. And I didn't then have a goal to be the best and and I didn't have a goal to play for England, which was the next step. So, yeah, and I'm proud of some of the innings I played, some of the innings in the second 11. I didn't sort of have many innings of note in the first team. I only played a handful of games across my career. But in the second team, I played a few good innings, a few match-winning innings. And I was also proud of the fact that I was the second team captain for a while, which was probably not a great thing because I was spending a lot of time in the second team, not the first team. But yeah, there's many things I'm proud of, but I'm also proud of how I conducted myself and the friendships I forged. I've got a few of my closest friends from my time at Middlesex, and yeah, no regrets really.
Make sure to check out Cricket Mentoring on their website and on their social media platforms. If you want some help to improve your game, then Tom's the right man to help you. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get the latest episodes of the podcast, and like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.